नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नामने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्याद्वैताश्चार्य देशतारिणे श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत वेदांत श्री वासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे सर्वशास्त्रार्थ पीयूष सर्ववेदैक सत्फल सर्व सिद्धांत रत्नाढ्य सर्वलोकैक तत्प्रद सर्व भागवत प्राण श्रीमद भागवत प्रभु परिभांतोदितादित्य श्री कृष्ण परिवर्तिता परमानंद पाठाय प्रेमवर्षक्षरायते सर्वदा सर्वसेव्या श्री कृष्णाय नमस्तुमे मदेक बंधो मत्संगी मद्गुरो मन्महाधन मन्निस्तारक मद्भाग्य मदानंद नमस्तुते साधु साधुतादाय नतिनी चोक्षताकर आनवं चिकदाचिन्नां प्रेमणां प्रथमते वस्पुरा नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय 25 धृत्या बलि समः कृष्णे प्रह्लादैव सद्ग्रह आहर्तैश्वमेधानां वृद्धानां पर्युपासकः. This child will be like Bali Maharaj in patience, a staunch devotee of Lord Krishna like Prahlad Maharaj, a performer of many Ashwamedha horse sacrifices, and a follower of the old and experienced men. Okay, it's been clubbed together, so I'll read out this purport and move on. Bali Maharaj, one of the 12 authorities in the devotion service of the Lord. Bali Maharaj is a great authority in devotion service because he sacrificed everything to please the Lord and relinquished the connection of his so-called spiritual master who obstructed him on the path of risking everything for the service of the Lord. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, I have come across something written by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur where he says we can learn from Bhaktivinoda Thakur. We can learn from Bhaktivinoda Thakur's rejection of his spiritual master, Diksha Guru, Vidvan Bihari Goswami. How and when one should reject the authority of a spiritual master. Here also we see Bali Maharaj is celebrated because he gave up the spiritual master. Prabhupada, in fact, in one place he says, in a lecture on Bhagavad Gita, if I remember correctly, he's talking about Arjuna's argument to Krishna that how can I fight in battle persons like grandfather Bhishma and Acharya Drona? And Prabhupada says, if one wants to please Krishna, one should be ready even to kill one's guru. Not to speak of just disobey one's guru. One should even be willing to kill one's guru. And then he says, of course, a real guru is something else. Dronacharya was a powerful Brahmana. Dronacharya, at the time of his death, we hear that Dhritarashtra was about to, Dhritarashtra was about to cut his head off. But we also read that it was not simply just cutting his head off. When he heard that Ashwatthama died, Drona became so disturbed, he came and sat down in meditation, meditating on the four-armed Lord Vishnu. And it was at that time that Krishna told, now is the time that Dhritarashtra should go and cut his head off. And Prabhupada is talking of killing a guru. That may be very drastic, but Bali Maharaj's rejection of Shukracharya. Shukracharya is also he accepts Vedic authority, first of all. Under all circumstances, Shukracharya will accept Vedic authority. But because he opposed pure devotion service to Lord Vishnu, therefore Bali Maharaj gave him up. Gave him up doesn't mean he start making you create a website and you write there that I'm rejecting my guru, and you put this photo. This is not how you reject your guru. You just stop taking him seriously. Just like when you reject a doctor, you're taking you're a patient of a particular doctor, and at a certain point you realize that previously the doctor was giving good advice, but now his advice is just off. Maybe he's just too stressed out. Maybe he's drinking too much. I don't know, whatever, something. So what do? You just don't take his consultation. Just don't consult it. That's all. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur also dealt with his Diksha Guru, Vidvan Bihari Goswami, like that. As far as I know, he never publicly put anything in writing that he rejected Vidvan Bihari Goswami and accepted Jagannath Das Babaji. But for all practical purposes, he was doing whatever Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj was saying. Whatever Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj said, he did. And he was serving Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj the way a Shishya should serve a Guru. So what does it mean? It means that he is his Guru. That is why Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that his Guru is Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj. Even though I don't find even a single record of him officially declaring him to be his Guru, or him officially saying that I'm rejecting Vidvan Bihari Goswami. Vidvan Bihari Goswami's name and all comes. He writes. In Bhagavatarga Marichi Mala also towards the end you will see Vidvan Bihari Mama Prabhuva Shri Vamshi Padananda Vamshi Shashadari glorifies him. Because the Diksha Guru is the official Guru. When Prabhupada was asked about the relationship between Gauranga Das Babaji and Bhaktivinoda Thakur, there Prabhupada says he is not the official spiritual master of Gauranga Das Babaji. So Diksha Guru is official Guru, Vyavaharika Guru. But a Paramarthika Guru means someone who is spiritually accomplished, one who has love of God. A Paramarthika Guru might be a Vyavaharika Guru also. You might have an official relationship with them. You might have a transactional relationship with them. You may have some Vyavahar, some transactions, some dealings with him in the form of Diksha or Shiksha. But you may have no such thing. But if you want to attain Krishna Prema, then you have to obey without any duplicity and without any interruption. Shrushaya Bhajana Ananya Vanyanindadi Shunya Sudam Ipsita Sangalabdhya. To that degree one must serve the one who has love of Krishna. Whether you have a Diksha relationship with them or Shiksha relationship with them or both or none, only then you will get it. Because Krishna is a devotee of his devotees. Krishna's mercy comes when he sees that we are surrendered to someone who is surrendered to Krishna with full maturity. Then he also makes us fully mature. So those who are interested in attaining Bhagavad Prema, they will follow in the footsteps of Bali Maharaj. The highest perfection of religious life is to attain to the stage of unqualified devotional service of the Lord without any cause or without being obstructed by any kind of worldly obligation. Bali Maharaj was determined to give up everything for the satisfaction of the Lord, and he did not care for any obstruction whatsoever. He is the grandson of Prahlad Maharaj, another authority in the devotional service of the Lord. That entire section comes in that Vamana avatar description in Bhagavatam. You can see that Bali Maharaj carefully considered whom I should follow. Should I follow Shukracharya, his instruction, or should I follow Prahlad Maharaj's instruction? Bali Maharaj's father was Virochana. Virochana was an opponent of Indra. Virochana is not known for being a great devotee of Vishnu also. So Bali Maharaj, first of all, Bali Maharaj didn't become like a Ritvik and say that he is a son of Prahlad Maharaj. He always identifies himself as a grandson of Prahlad Maharaj. He is always known as a son of Virochana, even though Virochana is some XYZ, not a good whatever. But Bali Maharaj decided he will follow Prahlad Maharaj. He will not follow anyone lower than Prahlad Maharaj. So when Shukracharya came between him and Krishna, Lord Vishnu, very politely, respectfully, silently, he decided to follow Prahlad Maharaj. That is what is called rejection. You don't find Bali Maharaj saying anything, rejecting you. No Bollywood, nothing. It's simple. Whom you follow, whom you don't follow. That's all. Of course, Shukracharya became furious. Shukracharya became furious. And then he tried to obstruct. He tried to obstruct the charity of Bali Maharaj. He became like a bee and entered into the Kamandalu to prevent the water from. That's a process in how you give charity. You're supposed to wash the feet of the person who's supposed to receive charity and so on. So he took a Kamandalu with which to do it. Then Shukra became a small insect. He entered into the Kamandalu to prevent the water from coming out. So then it is said that Vamana took one grass and poked into the spout of that Kamandalu. And in that way injured Shukracharya, one of his eyes or something like that. It is also said that Shukra then became determined that when Vishnu incarnates next as a devotee, I will also incarnate to prevent the spread of his mission. And he was born as Rupa Kaviraj, who spread Sahajiya, one of the versions of Prakrita Sahajiya philosophy. In fact, this whole casual study of Ashtakaliya Leela seems to have emanated from his time. Bali Maharaj and the history of his dealings with Vishnu Vamana Deva are described in the 8th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapters 18 to 23. Prahlad Maharaj, a perfect devotee of Lord Krishna, Vishnu, his father Hiranyakashipu chastised him severely when he was only 5 years old for his becoming an unalloyed devotee of the Lord. He was the first son of Hiranyakashipu, and his mother's name was Kayadhu. Prahlad Maharaj was an authority in the devotional service of the Lord because he had his father killed by Lord Nrsimhadev, setting the example that even a father should be removed from the path of devotional service if such a father happens to be an obstacle. Prahlad Maharaj also disobeyed his father. Prahlad Maharaj never quarreled with his father. His father quarreled with him. Prahlad never quarreled with his father. But he rejected his father's authority. This rejecting an inappropriate authority is very, very important if one wants to attain Siddhi and Bhakti Yoga. But one has to do it in a very peaceful manner, even though it may be interpreted to be very violent. Like Prahlad Maharaj, he did not accept his father's authority, and his father considered that Prahlad has become very violent. So those who are arrogant, corrupt authorities will naturally interpret things like that. So one has to be intelligent enough to do these things. Otherwise, one just cannot attain sadhana siddhi in Bhakti Yoga. He had 4 sons, and the eldest son, Virochana, is the father of Bali Maharaj mentioned above. The history of Prahlad Maharaj's activities is described in the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. 26. Rajarshinam Janayita Shastachotpathaгаminam Nigrahita Kaleresha Bho Dharmasya Karanat. This child will be the father of kings who will be like sages. For world peace and for the sake of religion, he will be the chastiser of the upstarts and the quarrelsome. He will be the father of kings who will be like sages. Janame Jaya and others. There is Aharta. According to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, this portion describes till now, till the end of this Prahrada Vasadgraha, there was a description of the qualities, future qualities. His activities begin with, a description of his activities begin with this portion, Aharta. इक्ष्वाक्वादयः प्रकृष्टैकैकगुणाः परीक्षित्तु प्रकृष्टः सर्वगुणकः इति प्रकरणार्थो बोध्यः. It should be understood that the point of this section is Ikshvaku and others, they all had they had respectively a single exalted feature. But Parikshit, he had all of these exalted features. The wisest man in the world is a devotee of the Lord. The sages are called wise men. And there are different types of wise men for different branches of knowledge. Unless, therefore, the king or the head of the state is the wisest man, he cannot control all types of wise men in the state. In the line of royal succession in the family of Maharaj Yudhishthira, all the kings without exception were the wisest men of their times. And so also it is foretold about Maharaj Parikshit and his son Maharaj Janamejaya, who was yet to be born. Such wise kings can become chastisers of upstarts and uprooters of Kali or quarrelsome elements. As will be clear in the chapters ahead, Maharaj Parikshit wanted to kill the personified Kali, who was attempting to kill a cow, the emblem of peace and religion. The symptoms of Kali are wine, woman, gambling, and slaughterhouses. Wise rulers of all states to take lessons from Maharaj Parikshit in how to maintain peace and morality by subduing the upstarts and quarrelsome people who indulge in wine, illicit connection with women, gambling, and meat eating, supplied by regularly maintained slaughterhouses. In this age of Kali, regular license is issued for maintaining all of these different departments of quarrelsome people. So how can they expect peace and morality in the state? The state fathers, therefore, must follow the principles of becoming wiser by devotion to the Lord, by chastising the breaker of discipline, and by uprooting the symptoms of quarrel, as mentioned above. If we want blazing fire, we must use dry fuel. Blazing fire and moist fuel go ill together. Peace and morality can prosper only by the principles of Maharaj Parikshit and his followers. '27. Takshakad Achyutanam Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhuji, I have two
Wait,
points.
why is your voice so low?
Is it better, Prabhu?
Right. Okay. Tell me.
Prabhu, in purport number 25, uh, like Prahlad Maharaj got a non-devotee son, Virochana,
Yeah.
whereas in 26, it is said about Parikshit Maharaj that he will get a son like Sage. So, why such disparity like they are pure devotees?
There may be other reasons. It's not that if you have uh, it's not that you'll necessarily have a pure devotee, you'll necessarily have a pure devotee son or a pure devotee disciple. Things happen. You still be considering what is beneficial for that devotee. You'll be considering what will be beneficial. Maybe it's a chance given to Virochana, but he just blew it. Happens all the time. Bhaktivinoda Thakur had so many sons and daughters. Only some took to Krishna consciousness very seriously. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur shone amongst all of them.
Okay, bro. And another point is when it is written in the purport, 25th purport,
It is,
Bali
but
Maharaj
it's
said,
a matter of great frustration for any honest practitioner of Krishna consciousness to have uh, dependents who are not who don't catch up the point of pure devotion service to Krishna. It's a matter of great annoyance, great irritation. It's just simply so irritating. After so much time also, you didn't get the point. You get very, very annoyed. Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada said Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati decided to disappear. He was only some 60 years old or something when he left this world. And Prabhupada said that it was because he had too many Kanishta disciples. So,
Prabhu, what is the lesson that we can understand from this? That if in a pure devotee family, their children are not devotees, then outside world generally, how they accept
what? I don't understand
bhakti?
your problem even.
No,
In
just like
today's world, children don't do what anything the father says or the mother says. It's just a feature of modern civilization. Everybody is supposed to be individual because everyone is supposed to fulfill his or her own dream. Dream. Everyone has to have a dream. All capitals, bold, blinking text. My dream, my dream, my dream. And that dream will take him or her to hell, actually, with no sense of contribution to society. No sense that I'm supposed to serve the society. By society, I don't mean ISKCON and all that. The sense that I'm supposed to serve the world. Basic human piety. When you are born, okay, first of all, to take birth itself, people have to help you. Don't say my mother helped me. No, your mother also needs to be helped by somebody. So are you not obliged to that lady, that nurse? Are you not obliged to that hospital? When you are growing up, you are sent to school and people took care of you selflessly. Are you not obliged? The basic common sense is not there. No, but my dream, I have to become a musician. I have to become I don't know what all they want to become. They don't even know what is their dream. I think they know what their dream is when they are 35 years old. This is psycho, population this is. So whether they accept Krishna consciousness or don't accept Krishna consciousness, I don't know what to think about that audience. But if they accept their anyway unknowingly, like robotically, they're doing good to themselves.
Bro, but this cannot raise questions on the devotee that maybe at the time of conception he might not have thought of Krishna. That's why he has not got a pure devotee
No,
son.
there is no. That may be a reason, but that cannot be said to be the only reason. In Bhagavatam itself, we'll come across, I think, one king, Anga, great devotee of Lord Vishnu. The Lord himself came to see him. I think it is Anga or Anga's father. Anyway, it comes, one of these kings, very great devotee of the Lord. The Lord was very, very satisfied with him. And he wanted to make him progress in Vairagya Vidya Bhakti, so gave him a bad child, even though the king wanted a good child. So Krishna is not a prayer-fulfilling robot. It's good news. He considers what is actually good for us. He's not simply going to do whatever I ask. So what if I ask, mommy, give me some poison. I heard it's very sweet and nice. Mommy was never going to. She will give you one slap, that's all. So that also Krishna may do. He may do that. What if somebody is more qualified and is meant to be a vanaprastha, is meant to be a sannyasi? So why he has to be stuck in family life? There may be so many reasons. So many reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it was Anga, whose son was Vena.
It was Anga himself, and his son was Vena. Such a terrorist, no? Better to, instead of having children or disciples or dependents like that, it's better to just be a Bhajananandi. That is why Gopi Pranandu used to say that amongst Bhajananandis and Goshchanandis, you find both corrupt and non-corrupt people. It is better to be a non-corrupt Bhajananandi than to be a corrupt Goshtyanandi. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also they used to say. There's a Bengali proverb. দুষ্ট গরু থেকে শূন্য গোয়াল ভালো. It's better to have an empty goshala than to have some wretched cows. Instead of having some corrupt people, it's better to have nobody. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur himself used to say, if the Gaudiya Math becomes corrupt, he would rather sell the entire property and give the bricks free of charge to poor people. He underlined the purity is the force. We talk about books are the basis, utility is the principle, purity is the force, preaching is the essence. Just as Prabhupada emphasized, preaching is the essence, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur emphasized purity is the force. That's why till date the Gaudiya Maths, they talk sarcastic things about ISKCON. When they look at the brahmachari, they say, "Oh, you're getting nice salary." Because you're not supposed to receive salary. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, in fact, it'll be nice if we start a whole movement throwing off these salaries. They boycott so many things now. They boycott research. If you have to be killed by Ram or Ravana, better be killed by Ram. If I have to disobey some XYZ or disobey Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, then you have to make a choice. So these things have to be carefully considered. Otherwise, with the purpose for which we took to Krishna consciousness, assuming that it was for spiritual improvement, will not be fulfilled. We're not supposed to blindly follow anyone. We're not supposed to blindly follow individuals, institutions, or whoever. But land, labor, capital, organization are very, very useful for propaganda. And propaganda is very important. Kirtana, very, very important. There is a view that you should preach only after you become perfect. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur did not implement it like that. He had his disciples preach his realization. If you want to preach your realizations, you need to become perfect. But if you are going to preach Prabhupada's realizations, then you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be obedient. If I'm obedient to Prabhupada's teachings, verifiably obedient to what is written in Prabhupada's books, then I can preach his realization. And my realization, as long as it does not contradict his realization. Okay, let's move on.
Prabhu, I have one more point in the same purport. When it is said about Bali Maharaj that he sacrificed everything, he risked everything for the service of the Lord. So this looks like a very far out thing. Like right now I'm struggling with my own desires and lust. So I'm like having difficulty following Prabhupada's words. So sacrificing everything, risking everything.
Step by step. Step by step. Nobody will ask a second standard student to sit for the 12th standard exam. That is 12th standard exam. Bali Maharaj. Atma Nivedanam. Sakhyam Atma Nivedanam are very rare also among sadhakas. Rupa Goswami mentions it somewhere in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So when we see somebody executing Atma Nivedanam like Bali Maharaj, it's like extraordinary. Ambarish Maharaj, extraordinary.
And when in the same section it is written, without being obstructed by any kind of worldly obligation. And sometimes it's seen that I willingly take up some obstruction in my life. It's not needed, but I am inviting it.
I also many times I come to this conclusion. I am my greatest enemy.
So who can
sometimes
anyone save
I
me
also
from
pray
this?
to Radha Madhav, please save me from myself.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
27. तक्षकाद आत्मनो मृत्युम द्विजपुत्रोपसर्जितात् प्रपत्स्यत उपश्रुत्य मुक्तसंगः पदम हरे. After hearing about his impending death due to the bite of a snake bite sent by a son of a Brahmana, he will get himself free from all material attachment and surrender unto the personality of Godhead, taking shelter of him. His death is also prophesied. This is how he is going to die. Hare padam prapatsyate. He will attain the abode, position means abode of Lord Hari. He does not say he will merge into Lord Hari. From all this, we understand that later on, finally, Shukadeva Goswami will offer a final test to Parikshit Maharaj. He will tell him, now you should meditate. I am Brahman, Brahman is me, this, like this, he will say something. And Parikshit Maharaj doesn't bother about it. He will simply engage in devotion service to Krishna. And he will become completely absorbed in Samadhi. Then, when he's absorbed in Samadhi, then Takshaka will come and bite him. And we see here that he will attain the lotus feet of Lord Hari. Hare Shri Krishnasya Padam Charanarvindam Dhyanena Vaiyasaki Shabditena Bhejendra Kagendra Dvajapada Moolam Ityukte. Here Padam, position, does not mean, there are some who think that this means that he merged into Lord Hari. Because Padam can mean position also. But Srila Jiva Goswami gives a quote from 1.18.16 where the similar point is made, that by means of the knowledge sounded by the son of Vaiyasaki, the son of Vyasadeva, Parikshit Maharaj would attain the lotus feet. Pada Moolam means lotus feet, the soles of the feet of Garuda Dhwaja. Garuda Dhwaja, Khagendra Dhwaja is same as Garuda Dhwaja, which means Lord Vishnu, Krishna. Mukta Sangha means Mukta Rajyadi Sangha. He will get himself freed from all material attachment, means he will get himself freed from all material attachment to his kingdom and so on. Mukta Sangha Padam Hare has very deep implications that Prabhupada is now going to spell out. Material attachment and taking shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord go ill together. I cannot have the cake and eat it too. And all of us who complain that this is all too much, I'm just a human being and all this nonsense, should understand that I cannot have Krishna and Maya. I have to choose between Krishna and Maya. Therefore, it is very important that we, it's very important to decide whether we want to become attached to Krishna's lotus feet or whether we want to become attached to the external world or to mixed devotional service and so on. Material attachment and taking shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord go ill together. Material attachment means ignorance of transcendental happiness under the shelter of the Lord. Devotional service to the Lord while existing in the material world is a way to practice one's transcendental relation with the Lord. And when it is matured, one gets completely free from all material attachment and becomes competent to go back home, back to Godhead. Maharaj Parikshit, being especially attached to the Lord from the beginning of his body in the womb of his mother, was continuously under the shelter of the Lord. And the so-called warning of his death within 7 days from the date of the curse by the Brahmana's son was a boon to him, to enable him to prepare himself to go back home, back to Godhead. Since he was always protected by the Lord, he could have avoided the effect of such a curse by the grace of the Lord, but he did not take such an undue advantage for nothing. Rather, he made the best use of a bad bargain. For 7 days continuously, he heard Srimad Bhagavatam from the right source, and thus he got shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord by that opportunity. 28. Jigyasitatma yatharthyo muner vyasa sutadasau Itvedam napagangayam yasyat yadhakuto bhayam. After inquiring about proper self-knowledge from the great philosopher son of Vyasadeva, he will renounce all material attachment and achieve a life of fearlessness. Yes.
Prabhu, when you said that we have to choose Krishna, Maya, or mixed devotional service. So mixed devotional service means mixture of Krishna and Maya only, no?
Naturally, correct, yes.
Then that first statement that they cannot go together, they are going together.
No, they cannot go together means you have to choose between one. You have to choose between one. There are two boats. One is going towards, let's say, Swarupganj. Another is going to Navadip town. Both of them are nearby. You can put one foot in one and another foot in another. But then, when the people step in and when it is ready to move on, at that time you cannot have both your feet because then you will collapse. You will go to neither Swarupganj nor Navadip town.
There is a saying in Hindi, एक साथ में दो नाव पर पैर नहीं रख सकते. For some time, as long as it does not separate, you can go. But as soon as it separates, you will fall down in the river.
So all these kind of miseries are there. We are supposed to take shelter of Krishna primarily by, we are supposed to first of all accept a sinless life and a life free from sins and offenses. A pure life, actually. Pure life. That is the basis. It's like if you want to eat good food, you need to have a clean plate. You need to have a clean plate. Now, cleaning the plate, that itself will never satisfy my hunger. It will not nourish me also. But nevertheless, it is required. So, Bhaktivinoda Thakur emphasized that first of all, we need to have a sinless life. We need to ensure that we have a sinless life. The same sinless life that is expected from non-devotees, that is expected from us. Not that we are some great souls and that we can speak lies. We can cheat people. We can do this. Non-devotees cannot do it and we cannot do it also. We are also non-devotees only. That's the only difference, we at least have been blessed by Krishna through those who are more advanced in Krishna consciousness. And therefore, we understand that we actually have to become pure devotees of Krishna and attain the perfection of pure devotion service. But if you consider status-wise, we are as miserable and as mixed up like others. However, we are taking the treatment. Now, those who take the treatment may appear to be suffering more than those who don't take the treatment. That's a fact. That is a fact. No pain, no gain. There's no point in imagining that we are something what we are not. And if we are very determined to attain material pleasures along with service to Krishna, then it will naturally extend. It will take a few lifetimes. You cannot complain. Krishna doesn't want it. It's only I want it. I cannot say, no, what I want Krishna. If you want Krishna, you give up Maya. If you say, no, I will Krishnaize Maya and accept it. Okay, fine. So you Krishnaize Maya and accept it, and it will take a few lifetimes. Because Krishna wants you to go through it and get bored and finally say, okay, the hell with it. I don't want all this. I just want to execute, pure Kevala Bhakti. What is material attachment for devotees? Atyahara, prayasascha, prajalpo, niyamagraha, janasangascha, laulyamcha. This is material attachment for those who have taken to the practice of Krishna consciousness. It may appear that Srila Rupa Goswami is very harsh, but actually he's not harsh. He's just speaking the truth. There are certain things which will push us down. There are certain things which will upgrade us. So it doesn't matter how many decades I may be engaged in Krishna consciousness. That is only Tattat Karma Pravartana. Apart from that, there are so many other things that are going on. Whether I have become free from lust, anger, greed, these are at least the grossest symptoms. 3 gateways to hell. These things can be measured now. if my anger is still increasing, if my lust is coming up every now and then, if I develop greed or money, power, position, it's understood that I'm still diseased condition. But at least initially, we should check whether that is reducing. It may not become zero, but whether it's reducing, that we should check. Otherwise, if your mother, father, and other relatives, they ask you after 10, 20 years, has your great Krishna consciousness done anything good to you? You will be in a big question mark. You don't know what to say. So we should be able to say, no, you don't even, actually, we should have upgraded ourselves to such an extent that they themselves, they say, we know what these boys have been in the past. And, definitely Krishna consciousness works. And they should surrender to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They should surrender to Prabhupada. They should accept the association of Prabhupada's followers in ISKCON, selected followers, understanding that their children have become good in character. Very, very important. After inquiring about proper self-knowledge from the great philosopher son of Vyasadeva, he will renounce all material attachment and achieve a life of fearlessness. Akato bhayam padam yasyati yatha nishchayena tadeva khalu akato bhayam. Jiva Goswami refers to 10.3.27 that this position of fearlessness is nothing but pure devotional service to the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. They are referring to a prayer offered by the demigods to the Lord. Jigyasita Atma Yatharthya, having inquired of right knowledge of one's own self. It also means having inquired of the right knowledge pertaining to Lord Hari. Atma refers to Hari also. Atatatvat Chamatratvat Atma hi Paramo Hari hi. Chakravarti Thakur says it refers to understanding Vastava Tattva or Vastava Vastu. He'll give up this material attachment means he'll give up this material body, the attachment to material body. Kuto Bhayam directly means Krishna. Wow, very nice explanation. Excellent explanation. You will directly attain Akuto Bhayam. Akuto Bhayam itself means Krishna. You will attain Krishna, who is the source of fearlessness. Material knowledge means ignorance of the knowledge of one's own self. Philosophy means to seek after the right knowledge of one's own self or the knowledge of self-realization. Without self-realization, philosophy is dry speculation or a waste of time and energy. Srimad Bhagavatam gives the right knowledge of one's own self, and by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, one can get free from material attachment and enter into the kingdom of fearlessness. This material world is filled with fearfulness, like the fear always felt by prisoners within a prison house. In the prison house, no one can violate the jail rules and regulations, and violating the rules means another term for extension of. Similarly, we in this material existence are always fearful. This fearfulness is called anxiety. Everyone in the material world, in all species and varieties of life, is full of anxiety, either by breaking or without breaking the laws of nature. Liberation or mukti means getting relief from these constant anxieties. This is possible only when the quality of anxiety is changed by the devotion service of the Lord. Srimad Bhagavatam gives us the chance to change the quality of anxiety from matter to spirit. This is done in the association of a learned philosopher like the self-realized Shukadeva Goswami, the great son of Sri Vyasadeva. Maharaj Parikshit, after receiving warning of his death, took advantage of this opportunity by association with Shukadeva Goswami and achieved the desired result. There's a sort of imitation of this reciting and hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam by professional men, and their foolish audience thinks that they will get free from the clutches of material attachment and attain the life of fearlessness. This is Prabhupada's stinging attack of the very successful religious business or organization of Bhagavad Saptahas. Bhagavata Saptaha is mentioned in Padma Purana. We know that. However, this is not the way it is done. It is a 7 day seminar on Srimad Bhagavatam. It is meant to be performed in such a manner that people actually become introduced into the life of Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavata Saptaha should bring one to the point of Bhagavata Jivana, the very life of a Bhagavata, a person Bhagavata who surrendered to Grantha Bhagavata. The standard of Srimad Bhagavatam is not 7 day study of Bhagavatam. That is Padma Purana. It's just a lower Purana. The standard of Srimad Bhagavatam is Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Therefore, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Prabhupada they never express satisfaction with all these things. This is something to note, that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Prabhupada, they condemned everything, even if it is from scripture. If it cannot help you attain sadhana siddhi in bhakti yoga in one lifetime, then they condemn it. So even, for instance, Ashtanga yoga is a bona fide process. Comes in Bhagavatam also. Still condemned. Yeah, condemned means it's criticized as if it is a waste of time. Because it is not fast enough. Such imitative hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam is a caricature only, and one should not be misled by such a performance of Bhagavata Saptaha undertaken by ridiculous, greedy fellows to maintain an establishment of material enjoyment. If you want to make money, you can as well sell popcorns instead of doing a Bhagavad Saptaha business. You do some food business. You do some medicine business. You do so many other things. Cloth business. So many things. There are hundreds and thousands of businesses you do. But don't mislead people about Srimad Bhagavatam. That is very important. Prabhupada did say that we can also have Bhagavad Saptaha. But you don't cover the entire Srimad Bhagavatam. It's just 7 days lecture on Srimad Bhagavatam. That's all. Take a particular part of Srimad Bhagavatam and study it. Dhruva Charit, Prahlad Charit. These are all excellent topics. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would have Gadadhar Pandit read out 100 times from Dhruva Charit and Prahlad Charit. Gadadhar Pandit is an incarnation of Srimati Radharani herself. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Lord Krishna himself. And you see how much they are interested in Dhruva Maharaj and Prahlad Maharaj. Prabhu.
Prabhu, so this point, like which you said, the Prabhupada and previous acharyas, they criticized if something is scriptural, still not
Not previous
in-
acharyas, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur.
Okay, sorry for that. So will it not be considered, like someone may say that it's offensive criticizing the scriptures?
No, because if you look at Padma Purana is starting with 7 day Shravanam Kirtanam of Bhagavata, ending with full surrender to Srimad Bhagavatam. Padma Purana itself says that the first time they did Bhagavad Saptaha, Gokarna, Dundubi was that ghost. Dundubi alone went back to Godhead. Only Dundubi went to Vaikuntha. And the question is asked, how come he alone went? And then it is explained. No, you need to be very, very attentive. You need to be attentive, pure. So many things are there. So in Padma Purana, Vyasadeva is very clear about these things. Very clear about this. So if you are not factually following those scriptures, and you're just superficially following it, and you're claiming to factually follow the scriptures, then it becomes a problem. All the scriptures are actually talking about Sambandha Videya Prayojana only. Vede Ramayane Chaiva, Purane Bharate Gatha, Adau Ante cha Madhye cha, Hari Sarvatra Giyate. But that is detected only by those who are exceptionally realized in Krishna consciousness. Because there is the superficial meaning and there is the deep meaning. So the deep meaning is that. But generally people are affected by the superficial meaning. The people means we are also people only. We are also affected by the superficial meaning. So all of this needs to be presented. Padma Purana, Bhaktivinoda Thakur printed Padma Purana. He wanted it to be given to the hands of every Brahmana in Bengal. He printed it in Bengali script. It was in Devanagari script, printed in Bombay. Prabhupada also considered that at some point Padma Purana has to be taken up. And Bhaktivinoda says that at various levels in Padma Purana for different levels of people. But he wanted that Krishna Bhakti be taught in a very powerful manner. And that was taken up by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He was very, very strict. Therefore, he condemned. He did not forbid, he just condemned. Just like demigod worship is condemned by Lord Krishna. So is Lord Krishna himself committing the fourth offense of blaspheming the scripture? He's not. He's not. He's only condemning. He's not forbidding. If you forbid, then it becomes an offense. You're simply saying, no, why are you accepting it? You're simply saying that these are all activities with statutory warnings. These are not criminal activities, but they are unhealthy activities. Avoid criminal activities, avoid unhealthy activities. That's what we are saying. That is what Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur also said. That's what Prabhupada also said. If you want to go back to Godhead in 300 lifetimes, that is something else. Prabhupada said this. If you want to go back to Godhead in one lifetime, it is something else. But generally, even if you aim for one lifetime, it takes 3 lifetimes. Unless one is exceptionally serious. Of course, Krishna wants all of us to become serious. But statistically, it takes 2 or 3 lifetimes. Tamasic Bhakti Yoga, Rajasic Bhakti Yoga, Sattvic Bhakti Yoga, Shuddha Bhakti Yoga. Is it written in CC that Mahaprabhu heard Prahlad Leela, Dhruva Leela? No, it is written in Chaitanya Bhagavat. If you want to know the exact verse, ask me in Telegram. Very interesting quote. It's worth putting also. We can check if Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur also said something about it. We can also not say lies if they help in advancing in devotion service. You should have put a question mark next to it. What is this telling lies to progress in Vishnu consciousness? Let some life crisis come and then you say, then we can see. Don't say everything is a life crisis. Every day I'm undergoing a life crisis. No, nonsense.
No, just like Prabhu, for the students, if their family does not support, generally request them that you don't show to your family.
So you're going to do this for the next till you die. You're going to go on telling lies. You're going to arrangement where you'll tell lies till you die. So let's say now you're 30 years old and you'll die when you're 75 years old. For 45 years, you're going to be preaching to the youth. 45 years, you're going to be doing this.
No, I am asking that we can encourage the students, the new students, or not that.
You create another arrangement. Why it's like when Prabhupada was, when they were doing book distribution in places like in Europe, devotees would get arrested by the police for being a public nuisance. There are laws against public nuisance. So Prabhupada said, no, but then you do something by which this doesn't happen. You do something. He said, you go to the court and you specify. See, these books are meant for everyone's good. Then the opposition will argue That no, but then if we allow you, then we have to allow the church, we have to allow the Muslims, we have to allow this one, we have to allow that one, we have to allow all these different groups. Then you have to counter argue. No, but you should use discrimination. Look at our books, examine our books, bring them all the 60 volumes. Examine this, appoint a committee, investigate. In long term, you have to do that now. Long term, you have to also think now. What the whole life, and for 10,000 years, ISKCON has to go on doing this. What is this? Okay, circumstantially, right now you have to tell lies. Okay. So you tell the students, the ones who take to Krishna consciousness, that when you take to Krishna consciousness and after you get married and after your sons reach study in college, at that time, you please make some arrangement by which this situation does not happen. Let it be proper for, do something by which Krishna consciousness is considered to be socially acceptable. This is how we should be thinking now. How we can prevent it. Okay, circumstantially, we are bound right now. Accept it. I don't deny that. Right now, okay. But for how long? For 10,000 years. Should we not be thinking about how to prevent the cause for forcing us to speak lies? We are being forced to lie. But we should also, as preachers, as we progress, we are expected to become advanced preachers also. We are supposed to think about all these things. What can be done? And we call the parents together. Dharmata Prabhu said that one devotee preaches not only to the students, he preaches to students and students' siblings and students' parents, and some excellent type of preaching. Why those kind of strategies can be adopted also, no? We have to think carefully. We have to think carefully. 29. Iti ragya upadishya viprajataka kovida labdha apachitaya sarve prati jagmusvakan grihan. Thus, those who were expert in astrological knowledge and in performance of the birth ceremony instructed King Yudhishthir about the future of the child. Then being sumptuously remunerated, they all returned to their respective homes. Labdha apachitayaha. Those who had received sumptuous remuneration. But it also means those who had received sufficient honor. That honor itself includes providing remuneration. Not that we honor all these brahmanas and don't even give them prasadam or don't give any money. If they're householders, they need to be given money. If they're renunciants also, they need to be given money for our own good. The Vedas are the storehouse of knowledge, both material and spiritual, but such knowledge aims at perfection of self-realization. In other words, the Vedas are the guides for the civilized man in every respect. Since human life is the opportunity to get free from all material miseries, it is properly guided by the knowledge of the Vedas in the matters of both material needs and spiritual salvation. The specific intelligent class of men who are devoted particularly to the knowledge of the Vedas were called the Vipras, or the graduates of the Vedic knowledge. There are different branches of knowledge in the Vedas, of which astrology and pathology are two important branches necessary for the common. So here astrology refers to Jyotisha and pathology refers to Ayurveda. Pathology refers to actually study of diseases and it corresponds to Ayurveda. So the intelligent men, generally known as the Brahmanas, took up all the different branches of Vedic knowledge to guide society. These two are especially important. Ayurveda forces you to have a regulated lifestyle. Otherwise, it will not work. You need to have a regulated lifestyle. You need to become self-disciplined. Other than that, it will not work. So, when people want to have a source of livelihood and these are all very pious sources of livelihood. Learning astrology. Astrology is a very important science. Very, very useful, very important for society. It's very important for even those who are engaged in mixed devotional service. All very, very important. It will anyway have its effect. Just that pure devotees don't care about material sufferings. But impure devotees do care about material sufferings. Astrology is just like a weather forecast. Maybe imperfect. but it is useful. So astrology, Ayurveda, these are all very, very important. Very important. I have one Padartha Vijnana. Padartha Vijnana is a standard preliminary to Ayurveda. Theoretical foundations of Ayurveda. I have a book. And I was thinking of explaining it. Not the theoretical foundations of Ayurveda is not exactly Ayurveda, even though it is found in Ayurvedic textbooks, but it provides you the preliminaries. And with those preliminaries, one will be prompted to become more thoughtful, intellectual, self-disciplined. Overall, it is useful. That preliminary foundation is found in the other branches of Vedic knowledge also. Ayurveda is one, okay. But there are other branches, like for example, philosophy. That's another branch. But there also you'll find the same preliminaries. So somebody had done a very fine presentation in the form of a book, and it was scanned. So I thought that that should be. The book is not in print, unfortunately. That particular book is not in print. There are other textbooks on Padartha Vijnana for Ayurveda. But that particular one is not in print. It's in English and very nicely presented in a modern manner. So I thought that at some point that should be taught, that should be studied. It's preliminary. So the intelligent men, generally known as the Brahmanas, took up all the different branches of Vedic knowledge to guide society. Even the Department of Military Education, Dhanurveda, was also taken up by such intelligent men. And the Vipras were also teachers of this section of knowledge, as were Dronacharya, Kripacharya, etc. So Prabhupada explained the logic that these Brahmanas, they have to teach something. Spiritual subject or material subject, something they have to teach. That is the reason why Dronacharya, even though he was such a staunch Brahmana, he had to teach. Because he was in a very poor situation also. So Bhishma Dev hired him. The word Vipra mentioned here is significant. There's a little difference between the Vipras and the Brahmanas. The Vipras are those who are expert in Karmakanda or fruitive activities, guiding the society towards fulfilling the material necessities of life, whereas the Brahmanas are expert in spiritual knowledge of transcendence. Dharmana jayate shudra, samskarad bhaved vijam, vedapathat bhaved vipra, brahmajanati iti brahmana. So vedapathat bhaved vipra, that is this. This department of knowledge is called Jnana Kanda, and above this there is the Upasana Kanda. The culmination of the Upasana Kanda is the devotion service of the Lord Vishnu, and when the Brahmanas achieve perfection, they are called Vaishnavas. So in this consideration, Upasana Kanda is directly Bhagavad Upasana, and it appears to refer to the sattvic form of Bhakti Yoga, which is aimed at attaining personal liberation. Elevated Brahmanas or Vaishnavas engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, and thus Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the science of devotion service, is very dear to the Vaishnavas. And as explained in the beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is a mature fruit of Vedic knowledge and is superior subject matter above the three kandas, namely Karma, Jnana, and Upasana. Amongst the Karma Kanda experts, the expert Jataka Vipras were good astrologers who could tell all the future activities of a newborn child simply by astral calculations of the birth time, Lagna. Such expert Jataka Vipras were present during the birth of Maharaj Parikshit, and his grandfather, Maharaj Yudhishthir, awarded the Vipras sumptuously with gold, land, villages, grains, and other valuable necessaries of life, which also include cows. There is a need of such Vipras in the social structure, and it is the duty of the state to maintain them comfortably as designed in the Vedic procedure. Because it will lead to all-around auspiciousness in the long run. In a place like in Mayapur, currently we have about 7,500 devotees. Ideally, we should be having at least 75 good astrologers. But I think that we just have one or two. I know Shaktipati Prabhu is there. This is one or two. At least we should have some 10 good astrologers. I think Neelamadhav Prabhu, he's there. He's also a good astrologer. Good astrology doesn't mean 100% accurate. I've been told that Lord Brahma has cursed astrologers in Kali Yuga, that they'll never be accurate. 100%. But just as we go to doctors, and doctors are not 100% accurate, nevertheless we go to them. like that. If somebody is 80% accurate, that's good. When you go to an astrologer, first of all, you should test to what extent he's accurate. Such expert Vipras being well paid in kind by the state. See, in kind. In kind. In kind means that you don't actually give money. Brahmanas are generally not given money. They're given actual things which they require. Like food means food grains. Cloth means clothes. You give, this is called donation in kind. So in general, that first of all, that culture of helping Brahmanas. Low class Brahmanas charge, high class Brahmanas don't charge. But in general, it is useful to keep because, first of all, dharma produces artha kama over the decades. Over the decades. So you have to learn to think a little bit slow. In today's world, tomorrow is too late. But it's not like that. You have to think a little bit slow. Ayurveda is slow. So these things have to be considered very carefully. Of course, these things will work when one is self-disciplined. When one follows samanya dharma, common duties, and he follows varna dharma, ashrama dharma, if he's a man, and he follows stri dharma, if the person is a woman. These things are also meant to be taken care of. You need to have the basic infrastructure. Being well paid in kind by the state could give free service to the people in general. And thus, this department of Vedic knowledge could be available for all. So if at all you get managerial power, you should think about all these things. Somapati, I thought you had a question.
Yes, bro. So this Jataka karma, is it required to check? Is it required to check for brahmacharis and sannyasis? I was hearing from Maharaj.
In the Madhva Sampradaya, they will not give sannyas until they are satisfied by checking a few different parameters. And one of that is astrology. Those who want to become nirapeksha sadhakas, for them astrology is irrelevant for them. Because they're not bothered about whether they are going to experience material happiness or material unhappiness. But those who are not interested in becoming nirapeksha Vaishnavas, but who want to be brahmacharis, even Naishtika brahmacharis, these things may be relevant. It's just like a weather forecast. It's just like I've been told that from the 4th of this month, for 1 week, there is supposed to be severe rainfall, some kind of forecast. I'll have to check whether it is true. And even if it is true, we know that it won't be 100% accurate. But it's useful to know. Prabhupada is useful to know. That's all. When the weather forecast is it's going to rain, then you take an umbrella with you. Like that. Useful to know. Don't try to become a fulfiller of whatever is stated in your horoscope. The horoscope says this must happen and therefore it must happen. It's not that it must happen. It's your own prarabdha karma which is forcing you in that direction. That's what it means. It's a force. Like when you're driving, wind is against you. It is forcing you. It's forcing you. Not that you have to. But if you don't want to execute Kevala Bhakti with the exclusive desire to come to the point of love of God, and you want to oppose your prarabdha karma, then best of luck. It is impossible. It is impossible.
If we want to encourage someone to learn this, so to whom we can encourage? Checking astrology.
Checking astrology means what? You're asking who is a bona fide astrologer?
No,
he wants to ask that if, as a preacher, he wants to encourage someone to learn astrology, whom should be encouraged? Who should be encouraged?
In India, there are so many places where they actually teach astrology. Officially, they teach astrology. I know Vasan was teaching in Bangalore, and he has an institute in Bangalore. There's an Indian Congress for Astrological Science. There are a number of people who teach astrology. There are a number of people who teach astrology throughout India.
Who should be encouraged to learn?
Who should be encouraged to learn? Whoever wants to learn can be encouraged to learn. They're auspicious.
Even the one who has, Grihatyagi is also, or they should just focus on Krishna Bhakti completely.
Those who are interested in, those who are interested in attaining sadhana siddhi in Bhakti Yoga, that's a different category altogether. But then there are others who are going through life and they also want to make progress. And, for them, these are all, every 5 years, they want to know what other interesting thing I can do in Krishna consciousness or around Krishna consciousness, so that I pass on my time in a very interesting manner till my natural death, just go on in life. So for these people, they bored people now. So astrology may be a useful thing. But this is not, this is not the pathway of the Nirapekshas. That is something, they don't have time to think about all these things. What is that? They're not even desirous of attaining Krishna, they're greedy to attain Krishna. So where do they have time to think about all these things? This is all meant for everybody else. The ones who are not greedy to attain Krishna. The one who's greedy to attain Krishna is dropped everything and just jumping, Krishna. And Krishna also jumps. My dear devotee. But for that, you cannot cheat Krishna. No? Krishna will say, first you jump. You jump and fall. Let me see you get injured. And I'll tell you to jump again. Again jump. To convince me. You cannot play the fool with that. So, Parinishtitas, Swanishtas, for them these things are very, very important. So one may be a brahmachari as a Parinishtita also, or even a brahmachari as a Swanishta also. So for these people, it's natural. Okay, Achyutanam.
Prabhu, in the discussion, I forgot the question.
Very
Okay.
good.
No, I remember. You said that think slowly, and Ayurveda is also slow. Can you just explain in few lines, because it looks very contradictory statement. Everyone is instant and fast. Then how come slowly?
What slowly? Because it has to make your body adapt to it. No? Just to make your body adapt to it. It's not simply in allopathic medicine, they have the concept of symptomatic relief. If you say that I have fever, the first thing they will ask you is, what are the symptoms? So it means I feel cold here and I cough, and they will ask what color is it, how does it smell, and how does it, when you touch it, what is it like? These are all symptoms. And what to do so that these symptoms don't come. That's all. This is the modern medical treatment. Ayurveda is not like that. They have a concept of Kapapitta Vayu. They have another concept. They have a totally different subtle elements. They have a different concept of what causes all these problems. And they rectify that, and then these symptoms automatically get rectified. But to rectify that, there are so many things you need to do. It's not just you just take some medicine. They'll tell you have to eat like this, you have to sleep like this, you have to sleep at this time, you have to wake up at this time, you cannot do this, you cannot do that. So many things they'll do. One of my friends used to tell me that I am totally unfit for Ayurveda. I think that now I am maybe 15% or 20% fit for Ayurveda. At least I've come to that point. Previously, I was 0% fit for Ayurveda. Because, so many things you need to control. Okay, we need to move on. 30. So, Esha Loke Vikhyata Parikshiditi Yat Prabhu Purvam Drishtam Anudhyayan Parikshetan Narishviha The child would become famous in the world as Parikshit examiner, because he would come to examine all human beings in a search after that personality whom he saw before his birth. Thus he would come to constantly contemplate him. Parikshit iti namanirvakti sayesha iti. Now he gives the etymological meaning of the name Parikshit. Sarvamapi naram nareshu madhye sarvamapi naram parikshita ayamasu bhaven no va iti vicharayat. When he sees every man, he would be thinking, is this that one whom I saw? Parikshit iti vikhyataha. Sometimes the word purvadrishtam appears in place of iti vikhyata. Yes. Tada matrigarve purvam drishtam ityartha. So that person whom he saw before when he was in his mother's womb. You would keep remembering that. Ki Krishna darshanat purvam atibali avattayam eva yam. What is this? Purvam. Where is purvam? Okay. Maharaj Parikshit, fortunate as he was, got the impression of the Lord even in the womb of his mother. And thus, his contemplation on the Lord was constantly with him. Once the impression of the transcendental form of the Lord is fixed in one's mind, one can never forget him in any circumstance. Child Parikshit, after coming out of the womb, was in the habit of examining everyone to see whether he was the same personality whom he first saw in the womb. But no one could be equal to or more attractive than the Lord, and therefore he never accepted anyone. But the Lord was constantly with him by such an examination, and thus Maharaj Parikshit was always engaged in the devotional service of the Lord by remembrance. Ayurveda does not work for everyone. Ayurveda works for everyone who is willing to become self-disciplined. How to have this greed to attain Krishna in one life? One has to get it from those who have that greed. Srila Jiva Goswami remarks in this connection that any child, if given an impression of the Lord from his very childhood, will certainly become a great devotee of the Lord like Maharaj Parikshit. One may not be as fortunate as Maharaj Parikshit, who had the opportunity to see the Lord in the womb of his mother. But even if one is not so fortunate, he can be made so if the parents of the child desire him to be so. There's a practical example in my personal life in this connection. My father was a pure devotee of the Lord. And when I was only 4 or 5 years old, my father gave me a couple of forms of Radha and Krishna. In a playful manner, I used to worship these deities along with my sister, and I used to imitate the performances of a neighboring temple of Radha Govinda. By constantly visiting this neighboring temple and copying the ceremonies in connection with my own deities of play, I developed a natural affinity for the Lord. My father used to observe all the ceremonies befitting my position. Later on, these activities were suspended due to my association in the schools and colleges, and I became completely out of practice. But in my youthful days, when I met my spiritual master, Sri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, again, I revived my old habit, and the same playful deities became my worshipable deities in proper regulation. This was followed up until I left the family connection. I am pleased that my generous father gave the first impression, which was developed later into regulative devotional service by his divine grace. Maharaj Prahlad also advised that such impressions of a godly relation must be impregnated from the beginning of childhood. Otherwise, one may miss the opportunity of the human form of life, which is very valuable, although it is temporary like others. 31. Rajaputro Vagradhe Ashu Shukla Ivodupah Apuryamana Pitrubhi Ashtabir Vivasonvaham. As the moon in its waxing fortnight develops day after day, so the royal prince Parikshit very soon developed luxuriantly under the care and full facilities of his guardian grandfathers. Pitrubhi. by the parental guardians, guardian grandfathers. So his grandfathers were acting as his father figures. Two. Yakshmano Shwamedhena Yati Drohan Jihasaya Rajalabdha Dhanodadhyo Nanyatra Karadandayo. Just at this time, King Yudhishthira was considering performing a horse sacrifice to get free from sins incurred from fighting with kinsmen. But he became anxious to get some wealth, for there were no surplus funds outside of fines and tax collection. Previously, there was a reference to the Ashwamedha. Now, at the right time, Sutta Goswami talks about how we conducted the Ashwamedha sacrifices. Tat paritoshartham Shri Bhishma Upadeshena Veti Gyayam. To satisfy Lord Krishna and on the instruction of Sri Bhishma Deva, he did it. Otherwise, it would lead to the conclusion that Yudhishthira did not have faith in Bhishma's instructions. So therefore, Yudhishthira did this. He required lots of funds. Fire sacrifices were very expensive events. Sankshepaad Uttan Ashwamedhan Vistarenaha. It was very briefly mentioned that he performed Ashwamedha sacrifices. Now that is elaborated. The money from fines and tax collection were spent for maintaining his dependents. Therefore, he became worried about gathering more funds. As the Brahmanas and Vipras had a right to be subsidized by the state executive head had the right to collect taxes and fines from the citizens. After the battle of Kurukshetra, the state treasury was exhausted, and therefore there were no surplus funds except the funds from tax collection and fines. Such funds were sufficient only for the state budget, and having no excess funds, the king was anxious to get more wealth in some way or other in order to perform the horse sacrifice. Maharaj Yudhishthira wanted to perform this sacrifice under the instruction of Bhishma Deva. 53. Tad abhipretam alakshya bhratarochyata chodita dhanam prahina majapru udichyam dishi bhurishaha. Understanding the hearty wishes of the king, his brothers, as advised by the infallible Lord Krishna, collected sufficient riches from the north left by King Marutta. There were golden plates which were rejected by the Brahmanas working under Marutta. Bhima and others went to collect it. That wealth did not have any claimant, did not have any proprietor. And there is a standard principle. When you have wealth which does not have any claimant, it automatically belongs to the government. This is followed even in today's world. Maharaj Marutta, one of the great emperors of the world, he reigned over the world long before the reign of Maharaj Yudhishthira. He was the son of Maharaj Avikshit and was a great devotee of the sun god known as Yamaraj. His brother Samvarta was a rival priest of the great Brihaspati, the learned priest of the demigods. He conducted a sacrifice called Sankara Yajna, by which the Lord was so satisfied that he was pleased to hand over to him the charge of a mountain peak of gold. This peak of gold is somewhere in the Himalaya mountains, and modern adventurers may try to find it there. He was so powerful an emperor that at the day's end of sacrifice, the demigods from other planets like Indra, Chandra, and Brihaspati used to visit his palace. And because he had the gold peak at his disposal, he had sufficient gold in his possession. The canopy of the sacrificial altar was completely made of gold. And in his daily performances of the sacrificial ceremonies, some of the inhabitants of the Vayuloka, airy planets, were invited to expedite the cooking work of the ceremony. And the assembly of the demigods in the ceremony was led by Vishwadeva. It must be Vishvedeva. Vishwadeva or Vishvedeva. By his constant pious work, he was able to drive out all kinds of diseases from the jurisdiction of his kingdom. All the inhabitants of higher planets like Devaloka and Pitraloka were pleased with him for his great sacrificial ceremonies. Every day he used to give in charity to the learned Brahmanas such things as beddings, seats, conveyances, and sufficient quantities of gold. Because of munificent charities and performances of innumerable sacrifices, the king of heaven, Indradev, was fully satisfied with him and always wished for his welfare. Due to his pious activities, he remained a young man throughout his life and reigned over the world for 1,000 years, surrounded by his satisfied subjects, ministers, legitimate wife, sons, and brothers. Even Lord Sri Krishna praised his spirit of pious activities. He handed over his only daughter to Maharshi Angira, and by Angira's good blessings, he was elevated to the kingdom of heaven. First of all, he wanted to offer the priesthood of his sacrifices to learned Brihaspati, but the demigod refused to accept the post because of the king's being a human being, a man of this earth. He was very sorry for this, but on the advice of Narada Muni, he appointed Samvarta to the post, and he was successful in his mission. The success of a particular type of sacrifice completely depends on the priest in charge. In this age, all kinds of sacrifices are forbidden because there is no learned priest amongst the so-called Brahmanas who go by the false notion of being Brahmanas by virtue of being sons of Brahmanas, but who lack Brahmanical qualifications. In this age of Kali, therefore, only one kind of sacrifice is recommended, Sankirtana Yajna, as inaugurated by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Text 34, I will deal with it tomorrow. We'll stop with this. Vansha kalpatarubhyasya vipasim tukshe vachapatitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.